Jesse Townsend again. Jesse is a personal trainer at Parkway Athletic Club. You can look up you can look him up or go see him if you're in Reno. That's where Parkway Athletic Club is. You can look them up online and see what kind of programs they have and so on. It's a beautiful facility. If you want to reach out to me, you can get me at stevemain.com. That's the easiest place. Leave comments, subscribe, leave comments in the comment section. If you have questions, we'll get back to you on those questions and answer them the best that we can. So welcome, Jesse.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steve.
So let's talk about, there's a lot of personal trainers out there, and we have a lot of personal trainers in our clubs, and they're all different. But I'd like to get some tips from you, some opinions, and I can throw in some of my own on how to know or how to pick a personal trainer. What's the best one or the right trainer for you? Because they're all different. They're all people. And I started off in this business as a personal trainer. That's what I was in the Palm Desert, Palm Springs area back in the 80s. That's how I started my career. So I know that you've been doing this for many years. So what are some of the things, some of the questions that you could offer people that they may want to ask a potential trainer that they want to hire?
Yeah. And again, good topic for a lot of reasons, right? I think when I talk to people, mostly what I hear, is about what their questions may be for myself or my staff, if it is that I'm getting them set up with somebody else, because that's a lot of the times what I'm doing in the position that I'm in at the clubs that I'm at. So in that process, people try their own ways, of course, to come up with, what they think is important and what they need out of someone who's going to be working with them on a personal, individual basis, what is up to a few days, maybe even 4 or 5 days a week for some cases. And so it's super important to know, what you're looking for, right? And I think where it starts is spend a little bit of time, doing two things. And I talk to my clients about this when I first sit down and do the evaluation process, when they're in that kind of, checking me out or checking out what we do, evaluation, like I said. So a couple of things that I ask them to do is kind of think, pretty deeply into, what started this process for them, right? Has this been a thing that they've been running through their head for a long time, and what I'm trying to find out through doing this is motivation, right? And I'm trying to figure out, kind of where this person is at, if they just got told, by a physician, that they're having some issues with blood pressure or something like that, and they're not taking it so serious, but they're still trying to follow, some medical guidelines to help them get a little healthier. Or if they have somebody that, has been struggling with this for 20 years of keeping weight off and, balancing their body in a healthy way and, has done it in all different types and methods, has had trainers, there's differences in everybody in the processes that they've gone through. And so when you're sitting down for my position and you're talking to them, it's important for me to know kind of where they're at, right? And so I think some of the questions that, people can ask a trainer when you're sitting with them, is kind of just like what they like to do. What is their specialty? Kind of start in that direction. What kind of, what kind of clients do they, sometimes it's important to ask them, and be as open and as transparent as you can be, because again, you're going to be relying on this trainer, this person to work with you, usually on a one-on-one or small group, 2 to 3 at the most, type of sessions, where they're going to be really directing you in many different ways, mostly with the workouts, but it's important to be transparent and ask them and say, what do you like to do? What kind of clients do you like to work with? Because there is direction in that. And, although trainers can be, very vast in their areas of studies, and as a personal trainer, even as I sit with as much knowledge and practical application of actually doing this career for what is over, 16, 17 years now, I have a ton of knowledge with tons of different types of people, but even I have certain people that I like to work with, more than others. I can handle and work with anybody, but I do better with certain types, right? And so I think it's important just to feel your way through that process, process, again, ask the question to your trainer of, or the person that is, you're looking at as being your coach or helping you in that way is, what kind of clients do you like to work with? What is kind of your specialty? Tell me a little bit about that, right? That's a good place to start. And then from there, I think you pay attention, some of this stuff is not all questions, but pay attention to the process they're going through with you. I think it's pretty easy to identify, are they just sitting you down, asking you some basic questions, giving you a little bit of feedback. You can feel if somebody's actually interested in what you're talking about, right? If you pay attention to their cues and just kind of how their body language is and such. And even if there is a difference between, a trainer trying to just earn a new client, and yes, they're doing this for a living. So from my perspective and my point of view, they deserve, if they're doing what they need to do the right way, they deserve to get clients, right? And they have to do it to live, and that's how they're supporting their needs is in one way or another. So that is what it is. But also, pay attention to how they're talking to you. Are they listening to what you're saying, right? And I think a lot of what you do as you're doing an evaluation process, and what I've learned over all these years, is I do majority of my evaluations the same ways. And even at our clubs, we have systems that we run and that I teach to the other trainers, and that my staff, my other managers teach too. And even if they have a whole bunch of experience, we still do it a way that we think works best. But what makes that process work the best way for the person sitting next to or on the other side of that desk is the idea that that trainer who is listening is paying attention to what this person's needs are. So the questions are to identify, where is the person at, and what do I need to do to help you, or where can we start, and how do we go from point A to point B instead of A to Z and skipping a whole bunch of stuff in between, right? So, there's a certain again feeling and way that you can tell, obviously, if people are paying attention. If they're just running through it quickly, and they're just trying to, run you through the process and see if they can't get you signed into a package, based on the fact that you're just there in front of them, that's different than, them trying to actually identify what your needs are. There shouldn't be, in that first process of going through questions with you, they should listen mainly, is what I'm trying to give as something you can look for. But you'll know, if they're identifying your needs because the feedback that you'll get, right? So I think that's an important process to go through is pay attention to what that trainer is doing with you. Most will do some sort of a needs analysis, identifying process. It could be called assessment or an evaluation. Mostly a trainer will have a process they go through at almost every place that you'll go to work with somebody. So yeah, I think it starts with those, and then from there, is the info they're saying, and I think this is where it gets dicey, is the information that they're giving out to you as a prospective client, is it good information? So this part is a little harder because, so for you as a client or prospective client, like I'm saying, how do you know if you don't know, right? So, fake it till you make it, all that stuff that people talk about in workplaces, to get them to certain places without maybe even knowing the real information. With this type of thing, in my opinion, a little bit different. Yeah, there's a difference between a veteran in all different workplaces who's been doing it for, 10 years or more, right? And there's also a difference between somebody who just started, just came out of school, maybe got college education, and they're just trying to get their ball rolling. Obviously, how they apply knowledge is going to come mainly from what they know from books and from studying techniques. So they don't know yet really, what works and what doesn't through the actual application of the processes of working with people. So I don't think it's bad, again, in that process to ask questions, and try to check background on who you're talking to, and ask them kind of what their certifications are, what kind of education or background they have, how many times or how many years maybe they've been doing it, working in the business. But again, if you don't know yourself, I think in any experience in life, and especially this one too, when you're having somebody work closely on your health and your exercise habits with you, and investing into your health is what you're doing as you're working with a trainer. It's really important that you at least have, I think, some information that is the right information so you can ask the right questions. It would be kind of silly to just fire out a bunch of questions to somebody if you don't even know, like if you ask about, well, who are you certified through, right? Most people can understand that there's a certification process trainer has to go through. But if they spout out one that just seems they're all going to have, different acronyms that mean something, NASM, ACE, NETA, IFA, there's a ton of them, ACSM. So to you, it might just sound good enough that they just spout one out. But what your needs might be, again, like if you have clinical needs for exercise physiology to be more of the education process, you might need someone who has some of these higher end certifications. But again, if you don't have this information, and that's where this gets really hard for people, I think, is, it's hard to judge if you don't know what is good or what is different. There's not really bad, I don't think. I don't call it that through certifications, but as I've talked about before, some are really easy to obtain. And again, how do you separate? And in my world, it's like, okay, so if one of my trainers has a whole bunch of time in the career and has had a good career, has some trained clients that have stayed with them and has proven to be successful in the business, and they have, let's say, at this point, a lower level, certification, but they have all this practical knowledge that they can apply in the workspace or in their career that they hopefully love doing. There might be a little give and take when I'm hiring them on like, okay, look, certification doesn't mean as much. The education, maybe even in college background, doesn't mean as much. I'm happy I have them in the experience part of their career, not when they were running through the beginning, probably without the knowledge and education. But my point is, you can go that route of asking those questions of certs and, degrees and stuff like that to see where this person's background is, but know what you're looking for, right? Internet research can give you some information. That's about all that you would have access to judge it. But you're looking for like nationally, accredited certifications, NASM, ACE. Those are a couple of the good ones. ACSM is like pretty much a clinical certification for training. Those would be probably the top few that are still been strong and been doing it for a long time. Actually, the three that I just named. From there, a bunch of different ones, some that are still very good. But again, I think nationally accredited is the difference you're looking for when you're doing that process. So yeah, I think from running back through it, it's like, pay attention, to the feedback you're getting, pay attention to if that trainer, it seems engaged, and if they want to be a part of this process with you, where you're going to be, basically earning, different levels of fitness and health through your experience, and what they're providing is good information. So in that evaluation or assessment process, pay attention to how that person is engaging with you. Pay close attention to, again, if you have the knowledge and the understanding of what are good certifications, what is good background, what is good knowledge or education this person should have. Ask those questions, try to figure that out and see kind of where the person is coming from. Throw in there somewhere, just try to check the person that you're with and make sure they can do what you're looking for. And that was like the first one I went over, just kind of see what is their specialty, what do they have, what they consider their best skill, what is their area of expertise, right? Who do they like working with? Where do they excel in what they do? Because that'll make a difference, obviously, in some major ways on, again, if they love what they're doing, whether they love it all, but they might love something a little bit more. They might love rehabbing people more. They might love working with, sports exercise science or physiology or whatever it may be. And so you might have a better fit with somebody as you go through this process that loves what they're going to do with you and what you're trying to have done for yourself based on what you're looking for. From there, again, I think we could run through, a ton of things, but I think those are the major, couple that fit into, that come into my head when I think about what people should look for on the other end. And then proper, in the end of it, when they're going to talk to you about, hopefully they go through a process, of course, to earn, the respect that they need in that situation where you're going to make a decision on, how many times a week do I work with somebody? How many days, what days might work with my schedule, all that stuff should be talked about in some type of this assessment. And maybe even sometimes if it's right, like if this is what, you want to do, like for me, I know I'll talk to people sometimes as I'm on the floor with them and I'm coaching or working with them that first time to show them, it's kind of like you want to go through that whole part of that assessment, let them identify what your needs are, and then let that trainer take you out in their environment wherever wherever you're at and get that, if you want to call it test drive, which seems kind of silly, but that's the best thing I could help other people identify it through probably. Take that test drive with them, right? If they want to, in my opinion, just sit you down and just show you pricing, it may be that they're just so awesome and they have so many clients and they're so busy, whichever one you want to pull out of what I just said that matches them, that they don't need the business. So maybe they're not going to go so hard to earn it. They're kind of sitting on a different side, or they don't know how to earn business. And how we do it, and what I've always known is right for people, is again going through a needs analysis, taking them out through a workout, letting them, and then identifying through the needs analysis what you're going to do in the workout with them, right? So if you tell them that you want to lose weight, you're not really focused on gaining a whole bunch of muscle. You want to stay lean. You got a couple areas. Maybe you've had some shoulder issues. Maybe you've had some knee problems. You've identified, and they should be asking all these questions. They should do, in my opinion, a PAR-Q. They should do some sort of liability release and go over these health questions before they put you on the floor. That's for obvious, reasons. Liability too on their end. But my point is, if they're not taking you out there after you tell them some specific things that you want to accomplish through your goals and what your needs are, if they don't put you on the floor, how do you know, again, that they can identify what your needs are and apply it properly in a setting that's going to fit you best and get you what you want? Again, everyone's going to have different techniques, different methods. That's not what I'm saying. As long as they're still good, and risk of injury stays low, meaning you tell them that you just had, some shoulder work done or surgery a couple months back, and then they take you right out. And the first thing they do is like a standing overhead barbell press, right? And they're having you do it heavy. They didn't warm you up. They just throw you right into it, right? That's probably a point, and again, some people might not even understand the methods I'm talking about, or the lifts. That's why this becomes a little bit tough, to be honest, and that's why you got to feel out that process of who you're with, right? In like the way that you can as a human, and identify if they're really into what they're doing, engaged, and if they seem to know what they're talking about. But again, if they're not able to actually take that analysis and apply it properly, and there's some easy things that they can do wrong very quickly. Like the first thing they should probably do with you is, before they even work out with you, even after the needs analysis, is do what is called like a posture assessment and what's called like a structural integrity assessment. So really quick, you can do a couple of things with people, a couple of little, either instruments that you can use that are designed to help you obtain the information you need through the couple things I just mentioned. But that's what the right thing, in my opinion, is before you even put them through it, because people may have told you something, but if you do these couple of assessments that I'm talking about as a trainer, if you know what you're doing, what is not going to be right for this person. Doesn't mean they still can't do many other things and still be super successful and get their results. But again, that's what a good trainer is doing, is putting you through the process without the risk, or as little risk as there can be in the process of working out, especially when it comes to resistance training, right? Because there is risk there always, no matter how good you are or what you know. Doing it in a way where they can get you to your goal in the quickest time without wasting a lot of effort. And through that process should be enjoyable. It's pretty much that easy. You should like it. They should have, fun doing it with you. You should enjoy that process as much as you can. It's not always awesome, to put yourself through an hour workout when you're tired and you've worked all day and you've had, trouble in your personal life, whatever. But this is what it takes, again, are the things that I'm mentioning. So yeah, make sure that, again, I think in the end of that one that I just named is really important. If you shouted out goals to that person and they sat there and wrote them down on a piece of paper, like they should be doing, in my opinion, or on an iPad or whatever, when they're doing that analysis, that needs analysis part that I'm talking about, but then they take you on the floor and they do some stuff that'll be counterproductive. Hopefully, again, if you don't know, you won't know, unfortunately, and I hate to put it that way, but it's true. But if they put you out there and it's counterproductive, that's a pretty easy red flag, right? That would be like getting on an airplane and, the pilot, says to you, man, I don't know if I can really fly this plane. I've never flown this type before, right? You're probably not going to feel that comfortable sitting down in your seat, and you'll know real quickly when he looks at the control modules and stuff, and he doesn't know what buttons to push to get the plane even running, right? So that's kind of that's the point. So yeah, through those things that I just mentioned, a little bit long-winded because I don't think there's exact processes, because when I'm being very, honest and transparent, as I always will be through all this, there's, again, if you don't know, it's very hard to speak to people, if you don't have the education and the knowledge in these workout processes, in the fitness application part. So, but yeah, those things can definitely help, if you're looking for someone to work with.
That's a lot of information to process. And
Yeah.
I would just add, just from my own experience, and in our clubs, we have all kinds of trainers. We have distance runners look a certain way. Their bodies work a certain way compared to we have other trainers that are very into strength or powerlifting, all different types of strength training. We have trainers that are more into the bodybuilding, the fitness. We have physique champions in our clubs, male and female. So they're all different. And I know as a trainer in my 20s, I gave bad advice to a lot of my clients. I gave bad advice to my clients who were in their 60s or older. I gave them bad advice because I was looking at getting them healthier through my eyes and through my body and how my body works. And that was a mistake because I was 25 and they were 65.
Yeah.
And and a lot of times people will say to a trainer, I want to do cardio training. Well, why? And so it's important for that trainer to be able to connect. Like you were saying, they don't know what they don't know. Well, why do you want to do cardio training? They're saying it for a reason, but they might not know why they're saying, because their goal or their objective is here, but what they're saying is this because they think this will get them to there, and that might not be the case. So you got to be aware, personal trainers out there, of why someone is saying, I want to do cardio, because they have something in their mind that's maybe not as accurate as it should be. So it's a process, and we appreciate all that information, Jesse. And you need to go back and listen to it again, ask questions, go ahead, put them in the comment section. Thanks for being with us, Jesse.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.